Genesis House, FirstNet, built with AT&T, and the Friends in Recovery podcast are proud to bring you Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast. Join your hosts,
Podfather,
Jersey Ed,
and Noontime with Skylar Noon,
as they address the real issues of first responders' health and wellness, from physical and mental health to relationships and work-life balance. Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube, as well as iHeartRadio, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your friends in recovery answering the call.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast, sponsored to you by FirstNet, built by AT&T. I am the Podfather, Mike Miles, and I'm here with my good friend.
Hey, guys, Jersey Ed, live from Minneapolis, Minnesota, guys.
Right,
and it is Noontime with Sky over here in South Jersey.
That's right. Sunshine.
Who's that good-looking man next to you, Podfather?
Right here?
Yeah. Both you guys were surprised at that one.
Come on, look at us. This is Paul Meehan, good friend of mine, and I thought I'd have Paul on today because Paul's been in corrections quite a few years, deputy superintendent, and he's a good friend, close friend. We've been to Ireland together 3 times, and visit his relatives, and we've had a ball. To tell you, if I could tell you some of the stories, completely sober too. I mean, we just had the best time over in Ireland. Paul's one of my closest friends. Always there when I need him, and helps a lot of people. And anyway, we'll get to that. I just figured you.
So now that makes sense. I didn't put two and two together. That Paul went to Ireland with you. Yeah. Am I breaking up, guys, again?
No, you're good.
No, you're good.
All right, good. All right.
It's funny. It used to be, my cousins, my cousins. And now all of a sudden, after our second trip, it's our cousins. Our cousins. Like, what are you
That's
talking
funny.
about? Our cousins.
I glommed onto the family.
So we just go with
it. There you go. Yeah, because I met you, Paul, a few times, but he always talks about everybody going to Ireland, and now I'm putting 2 and 2 together. So, I'm in Minneapolis, guys. All right. I was. I want to thank the Marriott for having me. They actually took care of me. They found a room for me where I can come do this podcast because I'm out here seeing some of the police officers that we work with out here, some of the corrections guys. I met with an alumni of ours. I'm not going to mention his name, but I met with him the other day, and he's doing really well. And really, it's a good trip. But so they stuck me in a little room by myself. So my internet's not the best. That's why I was asking, number one. And number two, I know I don't want to go too deep into this, but just to let you guys know, March 8th is the trial for the police officer who basically took George Floyd's life out here, and everything's being barricaded out here.
Oh, I can't imagine.
Oh my God. It's like everything's boarded up inside the city. It's just crazy. So I can't even imagine what's going to happen here. When the trial starts, and God forbid any kind of verdict goes sideways or something. So,
whatever the verdict is, I think a lot of times they don't give the jury enough credit, and they hear all the facts. The media only puts out what the media wants to put out. And I mean, I'm not going to get any deeper than that, but there's been a lot of horrific things that have happened. And to me, if you watch that, that's one of them. But I also think that, the media also keeps back. They don't put everything out there in other cases. But anyway, we don't want to talk about it.
No, I just wanted to, because it's just ironic that I'm out here and we're doing this show. So, but Paul's open about this, so I'm going to share this. He's in recovery along with all of us. All of us are in recovery. I hope you're open about it. If not, then it's too late. But I know.
Just outed him.
Yeah, just outed him.
We'll talk about the other out later.
Yeah. Is that his dress on the back door over there? No, I'm just kidding, everybody.
He came in a dress.
We do have a community of friends in recovery. It's a podcast called Friends in Recovery, but we do have a community of friends in recovery. And Sky, you want to talk a little bit about that, and about the meetings and all that stuff, and how they get a hold of us?
We have awesome friends and community Friends in Recovery community. We have a Friends in Recovery community support private group on Facebook. Get involved in that because we just always have different stuff going on in there. You know, we're doing FIR selfies, checking in FIR from the car, like doing for selfies from the car and just checking in without the day. You know, one girl was building a stable on her farm, the other one, you know, so it's cool just because that way we could see what we're all doing. Because throughout the weeks and days, we don't always get a chance to check in. So the community has been great with that. And then we also, from the meetings and the online, we started an adventure group. So we actually do activities now too. It's like, it's so cool. It's everything coming together. It's like the things you want when you get in recovery, and it's all coming together. So it's been an awesome thing. We just got done snowshoeing. For my first time, I went snowshoeing. If that's the right way to call it.
Great photos. You guys look like you had such a great time.
Yeah.
You know,
well, the cool thing, Paul, you probably can understand this because we all understand it, is that when we get into recovery, like, what do we do for fun? Like, what, like, I know what I did for fun, and it really wasn't fun when I was using, you know, but thought it was. But now, like, this whole thing, what do we do for fun? And I remember my therapist when I was in treatment. My sobriety date is March 10th, and I asked him, like, the first or second day I was with him, I said, what am I going to do for New Year's? He's like, Eddie, slow down, man. It's only March. You know, you got a long time before that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I go right for the big one, Pod. I go for the big one. Drop balls for me, you know, give a bunch of people, you know, that's what I go for. So anyways, but Paul, welcome to the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Great to be here.
Thanks. So I'll give you a little background. Paul's been working for the Middlesex County Sheriff's Department for 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
30 years. We've known each other longer than that. Paul used to be a bouncer at one of the busiest bars in the city of Lowell called not the Catches, the Johnny's Bench, right? Or the Bench. It wasn't Johnny's Bench, it was the Bench. But and it was a real great sports bar. It was like, sports bar concept about 35 years ago was new to our area. You know, they've probably been more out in Cali and all that, but to the Lowell Boston area, sports bars were kind of a new concept, but it was a very busy place. And I worked there when I got off my detail when I got out of my regular shift at 12:30, I would go there for a detail and cross people over because people were getting hit by cars and it was just a nightmare. And Paul was one of the bouncers. So we became friends then. You know, he works in corrections. He's a deputy superintendent, 2 stars, I believe.
2-star, yeah.
2-star. And I mean, that's pretty high rank, well respected. But as we know, and we've had other people on from corrections, and, you know, it's a high rate of suicide. Paul had called me about 7 or 8 years ago about maybe even longer. Teddy Dillon, was it 10 years ago?
Yeah, Teddy was probably 7 or 8. Yeah.
And Paul was the EAP for the Middlesex Sheriff's Department at one time. He's a late act counselor, and as well as being a deputy superintendent. And one of the officers had shot himself while he was working, killed himself. You know, took his own life, and that was the beginning of a very horrific time. But that just goes to show you that, you know, that's the type of job. We got a young kid who was single, had plenty of money, had a nice girlfriend, was working a good job. Everyone loved him. He was always in a pleasant mood. He stepped out to go buy coffees, and half a mile down the road, he blew his brains out. You know, so you see a lot. I mean, you've seen a lot of suicides, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, you know, in working with the job, you know, for 15 of my years there, I was the stress officer, or the EAP. And you know, you have relationships with these people, you know, these men and women that you work with, these officers. And you know, when you see people that you love and care about go through these things, it's that much more difficult, I guess. And it's hard. It's hard the job is tough. I mean, you know, to see their road, whether they recover or unfortunately they don't. Right. And that's the twist with it.
Yeah. And also, you know, there's a lot of guys that men and women, but it's predominantly men, but that have lost their jobs because of the use and abuse of alcohol and drugs. And, you know, as you know, Eddie and Skylar, I mean, you know, we're all we're on the business of helping people. That's why we're here. But
Mhm.
you know, when it's your specific job, when you walk the tiers and every building you go in, all eyes are on you. You know, all of a sudden someone remembers they had a problem. They want to talk to you. And then 10 feet later, there's another guy or girl comes out. Hey, by the way, you know, it's almost like you can't, you're like a magnet. You really can't. And I mean, there's hundreds of employees there, you know, so very stressful job.
Yeah.
Right. Would you
Yeah.
say?
Oh,
Very
absolutely.
stressful?
Absolutely.
Yeah, very stressful.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a good point you bring up, Podfather. You know, we're all addicts, alcoholics, we're all in recovery, but and we all have specific jobs that we do. But your job, Podfather, as a police officer, and Paul, you as a corrections officer, that's just an added stress onto things, added you know, something else that you guys had to take on. And you guys did your job very, very well, hands down. But still, underneath it all, you're still a human being. You're
Right.
still, you know, you're still just like me and Skylar, you know, and sometimes I think we forget about that. And that's why the suicide rate is up. And that's why we don't ask for help. And how many times did we say it on a show, Podfather? It's okay not to be okay. Just get some help and do something about it, you know?
And you know, when I look back, you know, years ago when I first got sober, 86, you know, it was a long time ago, and things were a lot different than in law enforcement and in corrections. And I used to work at the sheriff's department when I first got out of the army back in the 70s, if you can believe that. And you know, I was only there 14 months, but you know, when you get involved as an EAP, you know, as somebody that you've got to help. Plus, I mean, Paul has 2 stars. I mean, he's a deputy superintendent. He's not an officer. He's a supervisor. So you got that position too, you know, and it's almost like, you know, but I can say this, he wears it well because he's really well thought of, well respected. He's probably more of a jokester than any of those young guys. You know, they don't get it. And, you know, I think they couldn't have had a better person in that position. Why they changed it is beyond me. They went to outside agencies and you know, I think that was a big mistake, you know, because it's almost like a family, you know, and correctional officers, cops, they're not going to talk to just your average. I'm not saying not all of them won't, but the majority of them will not just go comfortably sit across from a social worker or a therapist and tell them, yeah, I'm thinking of killing myself. Every time I put this gun on, I think about picking it up and sticking it in my mouth. You know, they don't want to lose their job. They don't want to lose their license to carry a firearm. And people are probably saying, well, they should because they're thinking that. No, absolutely not. It's been proven. There's been statistics and studies that show that men and women that carry firearms have a higher propensity to think about suicide ideation.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah. And Paul, you know, and everything Mike said about you is true because I've been hearing him talk about it, you know, unless he's lying, that's the only thing I can figure out, but I'm sure it's all true, but
you know, it's funny, because I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
I could
I
tell.
give myself like a B- or something.
See, that's how you know he's humble.
Exactly.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
like B- or something.
Right.
There you go. But
So-
but does that attribute that? I mean, does your recovery attribute to your successful working, your successful, you know, high ranking that you are, the good man that you are, the good friend to Podfather that you are? Does that play a big part of all that?
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah. So, I mean, and I'll go back when I first started at the sheriff's office. Unfortunately, you know, because of my use and abuse of alcohol and drugs, I ended up getting pinched early in my career. And there was a sheriff at the time. His name was John McGonigal, and he brought me into the office and he sat me down. And when I tell you, he went up one side of me and down the other. I was like humiliated, you know. I went through the embarrassment of being in the paper, and I said, you know, I have a pretty good career here, started, and look what's happening now. But he told me to get some help for myself, and I'm telling you, this was within. I was only there, I'd say a year and a half or something like that, 2 years. So he thought enough of me to say, get yourself some help, and I want you to come back here in a year. And that's exactly what I did. And I came back in a year, and he knew that I was doing the things that he wanted me to do. And I'll tell you what, he gave me a second chance. Right. And I'll never, ever forget him for doing that for me. Yeah. Really, essentially my family. I didn't know it at the time, but, so it just goes to show you, somebody gives you a second chance, and, why not give a person a second chance? Because he or she can take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So that's how I got my second chance, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it carries out now. When I was working in the employee assistance program, and working with the offices, maybe I was a little easy on some people, but I wanted them to get it. I wanted him or her to get really what we have, and
Yes.
so that's kind of how my thought was or is.
Yeah. And looking back at that year, like when you sat there and he said, come back in a year, you were probably devastated, right? Like, oh my God, a year is forever, right?
Oh, it was bad. It was real bad.
Yeah.
Easy to say that 29 years later, right?
Yeah.
In that first year.
Yeah. And it's funny, I was out for a little over a year, and I was doing plumbing and heating. And it was funny because I was really trying to straighten my act out. And I was out lugging boilers, and I was working with my brother-in-law at the time. And what do you want me to do? Go out to the truck and get this, you dummy. Go get me some coffee, you dummy. And I'm like, oh man, I got to listen to this guy's shit. I got to do this. I got to do that. And I'm trying to get sober all in the same time. And it was an interesting time. It was, to say the least.
But that's how you get humility. That's how you get humble, and that's why you're where you're at today. Yeah,
right. Yeah, a good dose of humility, and if you can digest it and understand what you just ate, and you understand that this is really how it is. You got to just take a deep breath. My name is in the paper, for some of them, and all I did was go and get help. Paul's name was in the paper, but to me, it's almost. And I see now, I reach out to people now that, end up getting in trouble. If I know them or know someone who knows them, and not that I'm some great savior, but I know how they feel. And I know what it meant to me to get one note of all the hundreds of people I helped, one note, from a woman who I saved her infant daughter that was choking, and all I do is pick her up, and my thumb must have hit her solar plex, and it got all the formula up, but that one note meant the world. I still have it, But there's not a lot of people giving you a hand when you're down and out and you're being kicked around.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't forget them people that do too.
Right.
They're forever imprinted in our heart.
That's right. And just like our previous guest, I could tell that the gratitude she has in her heart for you, Skylar, that she can call you and rely on you. And, that's the beauty, isn't it? The beauty. I mean, I know we're not going to talk about recovery too much, but it is the beauty of this program is when you get people that have been sober a long time, and they are devoting their lives, no matter what job they have, to helping others. Because helping others is going to help you stay sober. That's the selfish part of this,
Yeah, that's what it comes down to.
But there's so much more to Paul Meehan than just,
of course,
just that. And I think what's important is we went over to Ireland about 9 years ago. I've been there I've mooched off him 3 times is what I should be saying. But
it's true.
It's true.
How you became family.
But he has relatives over there, and but tell them the story about your aunt when we first went over and we went and we had her some of her belongings and ashes and stuff.
Oh yeah,
was it your aunt or your cousin?
My aunt. Yeah. We took her over to a little place, Menard Castle, and she had just passed away over here in America, and she wanted her ashes to be spread over there. So Mike and we were over with John, the deacon at the time.
Yeah,
he came with us.
Deacon John.
And we went up to the castle, and it overlooks, if you can envision it, overlooking a cliff. And we put some of her jewelry in a container, and we threw it into the ocean and did a few prayers. And it was
a moment.
Yeah, it was a moment.
Yeah,
it was definitely a moment.
I didn't know the woman, but you got the setting. You got an old 1400 castle. It's all blown out. There's a horse.
Yeah.
There's this gorgeous Sheltie horse that's like a wild horse is up there eating.
Oh my God.
And we're in this rocky bay. There's no one around at all. It's just so rugged and just gorgeous. You can't even describe it. And we did this, and I didn't know her, but it was so emotional, but it just sucked me in. And there wasn't one moment, 1 second that I've been to Ireland with Paul 3 times, and we've been there, 10 days each stay, that I didn't love every moment that I was there. And he knows it like the back of his hand. and you got to be driving on the wrong side of the car. But yeah, we had a great time.
God's country for sure.
Yeah, no doubt.
Podfather, we're going to take a quick break here, but when we get back, Paul, I want to talk about the relationship that you guys have. They're kind of brothers in arms, and I know you guys are good friends, but also the camaraderie between first responders. Also, I think I love that story, and that's what just kind of came into my mind is that kind of that brothers in arms stuff that you guys have there. So, Podfather, you want to take us back?
Absolutely. Answering the call, the First Responders podcast, sponsored by FirstNet, built by AT&T. We'll be right back.
You're first. First to respond. First to put others' lives before your own. And in an emergency, you need a network that puts you first, that connects you to technology, to each other, and to other agencies. Built with and for first responders. FirstNet, the only congressionally authorized wireless network for first responders. Because putting you first is our job.
Since 1992, Genesis House has been helping real people heal from addiction on their private recovery campus in beautiful Palm Beach County, Florida. Their family-owned program is accredited by the Joint Commission and offers detox and dual diagnosis treatment in a comfortable and confidential setting. At Genesis House, they focus on treating the underlying causes of addiction. Their comprehensive approach includes psychiatric care, individual and small group therapy, trauma healing techniques, and holistic care including yoga, massage, and animal-assisted therapy. After treatment, their clients enjoy the lifelong support of a nationwide network of Genesis House alumni. Call Genesis House today at 1-800-737-0933 to speak with someone who understands. Visit them on the web at www.genesishouse.net. It's time to start your journey to a long and successful recovery.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast, sponsored by FirstNet, built by AT&T. And I am the Podfather, Mike Miles, here with my good friends.
Hey, guys. Jersey Ed here.
Noontime with Sky.
Noontime with Sky.
Hey, we're lucky we have Sky on this show, aren't we?
We love her. I love it. She just brings a lot of energy. And she's got that $1 smile.
I know, just when she smiles, everybody.
We're talking about Ireland too. I figured Noon. My last name was
right.
Perfect.
You got it.
It's really Irish.
There's a town. The town of Noon. Yeah, we've been right by it.
Oh wow.
Hey, real quick, guys, I want to talk about the 1-800 where is it? 1-800 cop line. We've been talking a little bit about suicide on here. Maybe some people had some questions.
Sure.
Maybe you've been thinking about it. Do not bottle up. Call somebody at 1-800 cop line. That's 1-800-267-5463, or go on copline.org and you'll get the help that you need. Right. Even, whatever, just go talk to somebody. Like we said earlier in the show, it's okay not to be okay, but you have to get some help. So
call one of us, any of us, any of the 5 people that are sitting here. 5 people that are sitting here in front of you. No, 4 people. 4.
Did you teach him math there?
We got another guy in the other room. No. But you're not alone. Contact one of us. All our numbers, everything will be in the show notes, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of contacting, what did you guys think of our AT&T built by FirstNet, or FirstNet built by AT&T? Paul, have you heard anything about this? Or
only from Mike, and it sounds pretty cool. I mean, it's just something that's been brought up. What, 2 years now? With the
give or take. I don't know the length of it, but it's definitely something new. Yeah. It's something pretty good and pretty amazing, and we're proud to have a sponsor like that, and
especially for people in EMS, corrections, police, because we all remember 9/11 and the tragedy, but also you never know. Something bad could happen. The song by the Bee Gees, "The Night the Lights Went Out" in Massachusetts. Well, listen, I was about 9 or 10 years old, and I remember that, and all the different talk, even back in the 60s. Martians were taking our power. Oh, yeah. No, I'm serious. These people were crazy. It was insanity, But it was, and back then there was no cell phones. There was no communication. It was just total blackout. And nobody knew what was going on. Even the newspapers, they couldn't print anything. It was really crazy. So I think FirstNet, built by AT&T, is just I'm so proud to say that we're even being sponsored by them. And
absolutely. So before the break, guys, we we were talking about the camaraderie, especially amongst first responders, and how important that is. You know, I know you guys didn't work the job together, but
we collaborate.
But you were off, and you know, you guys can identify with each other. So you guys could speak a little bit about that if you don't mind.
Well, we both are LADACs, licensed alcohol drug counselors, level 1. We've been to seminars, you know, together. We keep each other abreast of when the seminars are. We need so many CEUs. We need 20 CEUs a year, and every 2 years we have to renew our licenses. And you know, with COVID and stuff, it's been really difficult. And our own personal lives are that with the air. But we're very close friends. You know, we've collaborated, right, many times.
Sure, yeah.
To talk.
What's good is, you know, even for myself, when I would be going through whatever I was going through at the jail, I could always come into Mike's office, or I could call him on the phone, and you know, that was a safe place for me. And I love this guy. If it wasn't for him, I don't know where I'd be, and I mean that sincerely. I lost my son in 2015. It's hard for me to talk about it even to this day, and if it wasn't this guy right here next to me, I don't know where I'd be. But anyways,
you know, and it's amazing. Like, you know, I think God puts people in your lives. You know, I had a brother, my older brother David, but you know, he was born with birth defects, and not birth defects, but he was born with a lot of brain damage, and you know, as a young boy, he was in my life, but he wasn't really, you know, we couldn't communicate or anything. It was just a tough life, you know. But you know, Paul's like a brother. I mean, he's like a younger brother to me, but it's good having somebody that you can confide in 100%, trust 100%, you know. And but as sad as it was, he lost his oldest son, Paul. Wonderful young man. I mean, just handsome, smart, religious, just everything, but a victim to the opioid addiction, you know. And this is what I want to say is, Paul comes from a very prominent family, a very, very prominent family, and justifiably so prominent, all successful, wonderful people. And you know, and one of the first times I've seen it in any obituary is they explained how Paul died. And you know, to me, that was not by, you know, he was found dead, or it wasn't, you know, suddenly died. It came right out and said it, which to me just had to help a lot of people. You know, when you think of it, people are saying, wow, look at what they're putting in the paper. But as sad as that was, I think he has a nice antidote, a little story about being over at Slayhead in Ireland.
Oh, I have to tell you about this story. This is a great story. So my son passed away in August 8th. And Mike and I were scheduled to go over to Ireland in October, the beginning of October. And, you know, we went back and forth, and we made the decision that we were going to go. And I thought that maybe it would be good, some good healing for me and healthy. So Mike and I went up to a place called Slayhead. It's in the west of Ireland. It's one of the prettiest parts of Ireland. I've been all over Ireland. Absolutely gorgeous. But anyways, so we were sitting up there, and I said, Mike, this would be a great place to have a cigar. So we pulled over, and we're looking over the cliffs, and it's a viewpoint, and was smoking our cigar, and I think we were listening to Bob Seger, and a song came on the radio. Well, this may surprise you, but I'm a weeper, and I start thinking about my son. Now, Ed, when I tell you I was weeping like a baby, I was weeping like a baby. So Mike's like, oh, gee, you know. So of course Mike reaches over, and he's giving me a hug, and the two of us are mugging it up in the car, and you know, we get the cigars all like this. Fast forward 2.5 hours later, we're in the town of Dingle. I said to him, hey, let's go for some fish and chips. So yeah, let's go over here and have a cigar before we have our fish and chips. We go over and having our cigar. We see over on the bench, there's an older couple sitting on the bench. He said, oh, how you doing? We start talking with them, and oh, we're here from Boston. Oh, yeah. Sure, did we see you up at Slayhead there?
Oh, no.
I said, oh, Mike, you know, they must have saw it.
I'm mugging it out.
We're a couple.
Oh my God.
Listen, it was Against the Wind was playing on the radio. You know?
Right. Exactly. Against the Wind.
Come on, I cried that song. We'll blame it on that.
Good. That's pretty good.
You know, it's awesome. I love watching your camaraderie from the very beginning, because I noticed noticed when Mike was introing you, it's like this humility about you. And then when you were doing it about him, he did the same thing. It's like you kind of look away, like it feels, it's like a humble. I can see it both in you, and you guys both did the same thing. You guys really are like brothers. You can see it when you rewatch this video.
Exactly.
It's like beating my chest, you know.
Skylar, these two guys, from what I know about Paul from the Podfather, these two guys are the most humble guys in the world. But I can't even imagine putting these two guys together and figuring out how many people they helped along the way in their career. Just probably unbelievable about amounts of people that they helped. Even when they probably figured out they weren't even helping, they were helping somebody. But and they probably won't admit it. Podfather's like, yeah, whatever.
I know, they're so humble. That's what I mean.
I know.
If you look back, you'll see them. They're both looking away, like, stop, guys, knock it off.
I know. But they were proud about hugging it out with a cigar with Bob Seger,
Oh yeah. That was all right. There's no doubt those people, they were looking at us like, when they went by, we really kind of laughed. We're like, oh, they think we're two gay lovers. We're all over each other. It's so funny.
That's good. That's
what are the chances, right?
Well,
I can't talk enough about going to Ireland, but we went to Mass a couple times over there. Played golf and everything, but going to church, and I'm not a super religious guy, don't get me wrong, but going to church over in Ireland was like going to Catholic church back in the 60s when they were crowded, and the people over there were just so down to earth and just, they love it. They love tourists. They just, it's just a wonderful, wonderful place. But more importantly, the spirituality that I got from different places we went to, I got to tell you, it just, it solidified in me how if you live one day at a time and you ask for help, whatever the higher powers, doesn't matter, you're going to get it, and that's a real useful piece of this puzzle of life, because it's not easy staying sober, as we know,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We have a couple minutes left here, Paul. Anything you want to talk? We touched a lot on a lot of things. I mean, there's people struggling with, all kinds of different things out there. Anything you want to tell the first responders out there? What?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Anything, kind of before we close?
Yeah, sure. Look at, in particular, I know the job of corrections. I know it's difficult. It's hard. It's really, really hard. And the stress level can be unbearable at times, which really can lead to use and abuse of alcohol and drugs, or whether it be a mental health issue that's going on in your life. And I beg each and every one who may be listening to just reach out. Just please reach out to him or her, anyone that you can, even reach out to this podcast. You folks have been great. Reach out and get the help that you need. And I'm telling you, I know we say it's corny, but this is the way it should be, man. There's no better life than living it this way, and it will get better. It really will get better. Like I said, I lost my son in 2015. I didn't pick up. I didn't pick up because I was afraid of never coming back. And you can do it. So
absolutely.
Yeah. I just want to say too, it's so true. It's such a hard profession. Corrections, and men and women that work in corrections, if they're listening to this podcast, they'll know just what I'm saying when I say this. It's not the inmates. It's not the people that are incarcerated. They're you and me. They're just people. They have problems. We know that. We can handle that. A lot of correctional officers have a lot of empathy. They have a lot of understanding. They're limited to what they can do, but they can understand. They're in that profession for a reason. They like it. They want to help. But it's the administration. They'll agree with me. It's the administration. It's the people that are up above that make the decisions. Some of them that never walked a tear or never saw anyone hanging or whatever. See, these are the things that are frustrating. I've been in this business a long time. And I'm telling you, if you don't have the right administrators, and usually you don't, usually you have politicians that are appointed, given a great paying job that they know nothing about, and this is the hard part. So anyone listening to this podcast that works in corrections, they're going to understand just what I'm saying. Would you agree?
No, amen. Yeah. I mean, it's like I said, it's a tough business. And, there's good things that are going on now, as far as programs. There's some wonderful programs that are coming into the jails for the inmates. and that's great, and that's really where we should be, right?
Right.
But who's going to take care of the men and women that are doing the job inside?
Absolutely.
So that's really the crux of it.
Yeah. Well, it's people like you guys taking care of the guys inside, and unfortunately we're losing that. As we go through, we get these outside entities like the Podfather said earlier. People, especially, first responders need peer-to-peer. They don't need to call an 800 number on a card or some therapist that's, that has no idea about first responders. They need you guys. You guys are there for a reason. You guys have all the experience. You guys been there, done that, and they're buying that for you guys. They're not calling into a phone number for no reason. That's what we're losing, and we're losing two good men just like that, probably across the country, unfortunately, with all these calling all these new EAPs in, so or outside EAPs. So well, guys, good show. Thank you, Paul, so much. Thank you for your experience, strengths, and hope. Thank you for all your insight and your wonderful humility that you have with us, your humbleness, and
yes.
Thank you so much.
No, where do I get my cigar? Do I get free
We're
cigar?
gonna talk about that
Free
after.
cigar, yeah.
You said free cigar.
Yeah.
Free cigar,
My bag of
yes.
stuff.
What's up,
There's
my car?
a
What do you give me?
dispenser out on his wall. You just pull one out of the dispenser.
Told me there's going to be like facial stuff,
I
hand
got-
lotion, cigars, a big bag of stuff.
Yeah, we have a guest bag. It'll be mailed to your
Right,
house.
right,
Yes.
yeah. I get Eddie's credit card. Don't worry. We'll
Yeah,
we'll go
exactly.
shopping when we leave here.
Can I come?
Yeah, do it. Just write down what you want. We'll say.
That's it. That's it.
Oh,
God.
you're the best. Hey, well, great
Yeah.
show as usual. I mean, we got this guest, but we have some more people coming up, and Paul will be on again.
Yep.
Maybe later in the summer we'll have him on again. So
Yep.
thanks for everything. This is a great show, and
Yeah.
all the men and women out there that are working in the field of police corrections, veterans, EMS, firefighters. We're here for you.
Yep. Absolutely. Podfather, you want to do the honors?
Absolutely. Answering the Call, the First Responders podcast, sponsored by FirstNet, built by AT&T. And stay safe, everyone.
That's right. Stay safe, guys.
That concludes this episode of Answering the Call, the First Responders Podcast. Thanks to Genesis House, FirstNet, built with AT&T, for supporting those on the path to recovery and keeping this valuable resource free for all our friends in recovery. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Brought to you by Genesis House and the Friends in Recovery. If you can't get enough of Mike, the Podfather, Jersey Ed, and Skylar, you can catch them on Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, YouTube, iHeartRadio, and GenesisHouse.net.